Hello and welcome, bienvenue. Today I am making another mystery mini quilt, pulled at random, Snail's Trail, page 46. I'm pulling them out of this book, Little by Little, by Mary Hickey. These are nice simple quilts. And this is Snail's Trail. She's used 4 colours because there's 2 different shades of blue. And I don't know what the name of the block is, so I've had a look at my block books, can't find it. So I'm turning to the old internet. The block is called Snail's Trail as well. I'm looking at how people have put the blocks together and what colours they've used. So in the examples, there's lots of high contrast. I would advise high contrast anyway for miniature quilts. And there seems to be a lot of solid colours with this block in particular. So I've got my box of solid colours out and I'm going through it, but it feels really foreign for me to use solid colours, especially for the whole thing. So I've pulled out a few colours and a few colours with different shades in those colours. And then I just can't do it. I do love a pattern, me. So I've got my scrap bags out, that any scrap materials from other projects I might put into these bags according to colour. So I've pulled out the orange, I've got the purple and the yellow, and I'm just sifting through. For me, this is really one of the most exciting bits. Sifting through materials and choosing things. This is such a massive part of the whole creative process. So in the end, I've been drawn to these colours. We'll put them to one side and we'll see what the block's going to look like. So I've transferred the block size to this bit of Bristol paper, so it's a thick paper. The block is 2 1/4 inches, and I'm not going to do it like in the book because I'm going to do a scrappy version. So I'm going to cut out the individual parts from different types of material. So to do that, to make that easier, I've got a bit of sandpaper and I'm going to glue this to the sandpaper. So if I'd been more intelligent, I would have done a photocopy and glued the block to the sandpaper. But I'm not always the brightest button in the box, so I'm having to just transfer one of each of the shapes I'm going to use. So that's 3 triangles, 3 different size triangles, and I've cut out this square for the middle as well, even though that's going to be a 4 patch. So we'll come back to that. On each triangle, I'll write 1, 2 and 3 because I'm very easily confused. And for organisational purposes, it all goes into my cassette tin. Then the next thing that's going to help me is colouring in a block. So I'm going to start with this 4 patch. I'm going to sew 2 blue triangles to each opposite side. I'm going to sew 2 yellow triangles to those opposite sides and square it up. Then I'm going to sew on another 2 triangles. So it'll be triangle number 2. The other one being triangle number 1. So this is 2 blue triangles number 2, 2 yellow triangles number 2, opposite sides. And then triangle number 3. Same drill, opposite sides, 2 yellow, 2 blue. So that when we've finished the block, we come to a nice square, making 2 1/4 inches. Inshallah. So for the centre of this block, we need a 4 patch. So I've cut out 2 strips of about 1 inch. And I have sewn this at 1/4 inch. Usually on the mini quilts, like we saw the last time, it was 1/8 inch. That was really tiny. And then I read a technique that you can just cut your seam allowances down. So this is what I'm going to do this time. I've sewn it and then I've cut those strips into inch pieces as well. And I'm going to make my 4 patches by sewing them together. So right sides together, I'm going to sew that as well at 1/4 inch. And I'm going to nest the seam allowances together. So seam allowances, one to the right, one to the left. And then when I've sewn it, I'm just going to unpick the last couple of stitches because I want it to lie as flat as possible. So I am going to, if you twist it one way, it doesn't work. If you push it the other way, it'll make these little flat squares in the centre so that everything's nice and snug and precise. So this is why I cut out the 4-patch template. I'm lining it up in the centre. So find the middle of the square, line it up on the seams, marking it and cutting it down to 1/4 inch seam allowance. Then I'm going to trace each shape one by one. I make a point to twist the pencil a little bit at each edge because that's where I'm going to put the pin in. So I want it to be marked out really clearly at the point of the triangles. The sandpaper on the bottom and on the template is just helping keep everything really flat for these, especially these tiny little pieces that move around a lot when you're trying to trace things out. So all these little things help with accuracy. So I really do love Scrappy, and since I'm cutting these each individual little pieces, it's just given me a chance to play around with colour. And since it's a miniature quilt, it's only 6. I'm only doing 6 blocks and it's nice and quick. I am enjoying making these. So I'm putting in a pin right at the point that I've pressed down firmly with my pencil. I put a pin in each side and then I've got a bit more chance of being accurate. So this is just repeated again and again. I'm sewing the 2 opposite sides. So I sew 2 yellow ones, 2 blue ones, open it up. You could iron it out. Check the size of your square and then make sure you're cutting your seam allowances down to 1/8 of an inch. And you just keep on repeating that with your triangle 1, triangle 2, triangle 3. And voila. Before you know it, you've got a block. But as you see here, I've used for my centre 4-patch, the 2 yellow ones are stripy. So you do have to be quite attentive to the direction of the stripes. So try it out beforehand, make sure they're striping in the way that you want them to stripe. And then with the bigger triangles, I put a 3rd pin right at the point in the middle. I want it right on the point, try and get as pointy points as I can. And I'm messing about with the colours until I've got 6 blocks finished. Sew the 6 blocks together, as so. 1-inch strips for the border, and then unfortunately I realised that I don't have any more of this sort of bluey green colour, so I've had to use another blue, like a light blue. So not particularly happy about that, but it is what it is, isn't it? So I put a yellow stripy border in, and I made this really thin because yellow does pop out and I don't want it to take over the whole quilt. And then I'm doing the same technique as last time. So the back and the front of the quilt, right sides together, and I've put the batting on the back of the quilt. I sew all the way around the quilt and just leave a hole for the opening so I can put my hand in and turn it inside out. Again, I did a bit of hand quilting because I really enjoy that. And then Bob's your uncle. So hold on to your proverbial horses for the big reveal. Drum roll. What do you think? I am enjoying the puffiness of this quilt. Look at all that texture. I don't usually give names to quilts, but this just so much makes me think of lemonade, lemons, limes, blue skies, lemon and lime quilt. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. Right. Get a bit of ambience with my fairy lights. Big reveal. 1, 2, 3. Oh. It's not having it.